Hi, my name is Justice Hambuya, and I'm going to be talking about the brain and its functions, and then local, resting, and action potential. So first, let's start with the brain. So to start off with, we're going to talk about the brain lobes. So for the brain lobes, we have the temporal, the insula, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. So for the temporal lobe, the function is processing, hearing, and smelling. For the insula, its functions is understanding spoken language and taste. For the frontal lobe, it controls voluntary motor functions like skeletal muscle control and high-level cognition. For the parietal lobe, it is receiving and interpreting signals of general senses. For the occipital lobe, it is the principal visual center. All right, now let's move on to the brain's main functions. It's going to be the cerebellum, the medulla oblongata, the brainstem, pons, the midbrain and the diencephalon, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the cerebrum. So for the cerebrum, it controls all higher level conscious functions like processing sensory info, initiating and coordinating voluntary muscle. For the medulla oblongata, is the vital for survival. Its functions to regulate involuntary life-sustaining bodily functions like heart rate and blood pressure. The brainstem is connected to the spinal cord and acts as a body's vital control center. And for the pons, it reacts as immune response for inflammation triggered inside the brain. For the midbrain and diencephalon, they work together as vital communication and control centers. And for the last one, the last three, it's going to be thalamus is the brain's central and relay system. It sorts, processes, and transmits sensory and motor info before rerouting it. The hypothalamus is deep into the brain and acts as your body's master control center. And then the cerebellum is the body's quality control unit, regulates and coordinates voluntary movement, posture, and balance. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the resting, the acting, and local potential. So for the resting potential, it's the electrical charge difference across the cell's membrane when it's not actively sending signals. So this is my diagram right here. This is the channel ions, and this is potassium, with sodium, the cytoplasm, the extracellular fluid, and this one, the cellular membrane is just resting and not much going on around it. So next, we're going to be talking about the action potential, which is a rapid temporary electrical impulse that travels down a neuron's axon. The fundamental communication signal between nerve cells, triggered only when an incoming stimulation crosses a specific threshold. So this is my diagram right here. This is when it starts at the resting potential, and then this is the threshold of excitation. And so when it reaches up to this breakpoint right here, this is the initial force and the spark, and the peak action right here. And then when it repolarizes, this goes down all the way down here until it repolarizes. And then the last one is going to be local potential. It's a small temporary localized charge in a neuron's resting membrane potential. It's a localized shock or spark when neurotransmitters bind to the dendrites. So this is my example right here. This is an outside view, and this is where the initial spark would happen. This is where it triggers, and then this is a close-up view. This is when it is untriggered, and then when we go right here, this is what it would look like when it's sparked and the gates open and then the potassium is flooding in. That was my presentation. Thank you for listening.